Peter Crouch football chants in a horror movie? What is going on here? Hello everyone, welcome to In the Armchair. We're back again for another Netflix movie review. Today we're going to be talking about His House. His House was a subscriber choice. Shout out to Fennels who suggested I review this film. I'm always open to suggestions. If you've got a film you want me to review, please just leave a comment in the section below. Film stars Sope Dirisu as Bo and Wumi Masaku as Rial. His House is directed by Remy Weeks and it tells the story of a young couple who flee Sudan on a boat. They make it over to England and it's shown how they struggle to adjust to their new life within this country while there's something evil lurking in their home. First things first, I do not like horror movies. I repeat, I do not like horror movies. It is my least favorite genre. I just don't understand why people want to watch something to jump out of their seat. I don't get it. Most horrors follow the same generic sort of storyline and plot as well, so it becomes repetitive. But in this case, I like this movie. This lent more in the direction of Get Out, which was described as a horror, okay, than a film say like Ouija, which is just, yeah, let's not get into that. Which meant there were much deeper messages and meaning throughout the film. It wasn't just a typical out and out horror. It was more social commentary about a multitude of things. As I said, it was directed and also written by Remy Weeks, who's a first-time director, and although this is his first effort, he's got a lot of potential. Similar to Rada Blank, I see big things and I'm proud of what black people are producing right now. Once they arrive off the boat in England, they're taken to a detention centre. The detention centre is more or less like a jail. It's a holding cell, horrible conditions. And then when they get released, they're given all of these conditions that they need to live by. They can't speak to anyone, they can't have anyone over, they can't make contact with anyone, they're not allowed to work, they only get a certain amount to live on per week. It's peanuts. It's like, wow, this is the hospitality that we're giving to people that have escaped from their country. It's just bad. And the reason I like this film is because it didn't really go into it. All of these things are very subtle but just show you the way the system works. They're taken to their new home, they get off the bus, their black bag of their stuff is just dashed on the floor. This is your new house. There's bugs everywhere. It's absolutely disgusting. It's rancid. They're just meant to be happy that they've got somewhere, and on one hand I can understand that, but on the other hand you could have at least cleaned up the place before you gave it to them. Come on now. Obviously they're just happy that they made it from Sudan, so they've touched down now, they've given all of their rules, they need to now adapt to English society. And this is where the film excelled. It looked at the dynamics of people coming into this country. Obviously this is specifically Africans, but looking at how they actually adapt and how they actually try to fit in. The dynamics between a husband and wife was brilliant at showing this. Do you try your best to fit in, almost compromising who you are as a character, or do you stay true to who you were before you came to England? That's an interesting question. There's a funny but not yet so funny scene involving them eating a meal, which shows that dynamic beautifully. And that's one of the takeaways of this film. There's so many small little intricate scenes which has given you subtle messages and gives you subtle things to think about, but it's not in your face, it's not over the top. And there are many variations and scenes throughout the film about adapting to society. And there's one scene in the film which shows racism from a black person's perspective. It shows how English-born Africans, Caribbeans, wherever these boys are from, can be racist against their own country, their own people. And I thought that was quite an interesting dynamic to explore. It angered me at the same time because I was like, is this how you really treat your own people? But it was a good scene that touches on the conversations we've been having over the last few months about the way black people treat each other, let alone white people. And it took me back to conversations between my dad and my granddad. When they came to England from Ghana, they grew up in a rural part of England close to Brighton, where they were the only black family in the village. So it made me think back to conversations about how they grew up, how they adapted, what they took on board, what they didn't. This film hits many personal notes for me, and I'm sure it will if you're black British but your parents are from Africa or the Caribbean. But aside from the social commentary, this film is still a horror, and obviously the house is where the horror elements come from. It's haunted by some sort of evil spirit. I'm not gonna say what that is or why, but it's an interesting take on the genre, and the house itself being haunted is giving them trauma, but they've also got the trauma of what they've just come from on top of that. So you've got 2 sets of trauma here. Brilliant touch, I thought. And it did have horror scenes. It had jump scares. Most of them you kind of knew were coming, so I didn't think were particularly necessary. Didn't think it really added to the film. And aside from the jump scares, there were a few other things which you may find scary. But I thought visually this film was excellent. Particularly the colours and the tones used throughout the film, and some of the imagery was amazing and really gets across the vision that this director had for this movie. And considering this was his first time, he'd done an exceptional job. The 2 leads in the film are both exceptional. I love the fact they're black and British. They're both believable and give you that emotional connection. There were a few things I didn't like about the film. The timeline kind of jumps between the present day, flashbacks, dreams, nightmares. So you don't always know where you are in the film. Sometimes you're like, is this happening present day or is this a flashback? Is this real or is this fake? You don't really know, so it can be a bit confusing at certain points. There were a few things where something particular happens which they showed multiple times in different ways throughout the film. I didn't really think that was necessary, and so it could have been cut out. I could have cut a bit off the film. It was only 90 something minutes, so it wasn't long, it wasn't a drag, but there were a few bits where it slowed down and felt like if they would have cut this out, it would have made the pace and transition of the movie a bit smoother. Overall, surprisingly, this was a good movie. It had excellent acting, an outstanding plot, and superb direction. It showed the awkwardness of trying to fit and adapt to a new country, a new society expertly. I haven't seen this executed on this kind of level in film before. I also like it showed the dark side of England, the things you don't really read about in the news about asylum seekers and the rules and conditions and regulations that they're given. It's quite bad, but it does it in such a way that it's not obvious, it's not in your face. It's just small little things that add up over time. I loved it. This is a very sad, bleak movie, however, so just prepare yourself mentally for that. You're not going to come away with tears of joy from this movie. However, you are going to learn something, you are going to be entertained, and you're not going to be too scared. 4 stars. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and watch some other videos.